What's up, guys? Drinking coffee, iced coffee, which is my favorite way to drink it. Um, in case you accept donations, uh, I drink coffee, and if you look at the links, you can donate so I can buy some coffee. Um, it's also used for people who want to buy beer as well, but I don't drink beer, guys. I drink coffee, so if you want to donate, help me out. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know I rarely ask. This may be my third video asking for donations, but yeah, buy me a coffee. You can check out my Patreon. I have yet to put anything up there special because I'm debating what I'm going to put up there. It won't be anything illicit, so don't think of this. This isn't OnlyFans, guys. If I put anything special up there, it might be some stuff with Mrs. Contrarian, or of me doing some training that I haven't put here already. Okay. Um, but yeah, you can check those out. Buy me a coffee. I have a Patreon that you can subscribe to as well. You can always cash at me as well if you're feeling froggy, because I will use that stuff to upgrade this dusty content here. But no, seriously, I'm not gonna beg on every video for guys to donate to me and stuff like that. I'm not gonna be like that guy, like hit the cash yet. I'm not gonna do that. It's funny as hell, but I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, you can buy me a coffee. Okay, it will be appreciated. The more coffee I have, the more I will probably talk and rant. So, but no. So the topic is self-defense versus combat sports, which is better. And only people who've never fought think that there's a huge difference between the two. Okay? There are some meaningful differences, but there are some distinctions without differences. Welcome to philosophy, guys. No, so the thing is, fighting is fighting. The biggest difference between self-defense and combat sports is that self-defense, by its very nature, tends to be asymmetric fighting, which means you're dealing with different variables that aren't controlled for as you would in combat sports, where you sort of match with people of your weight class and of your skill level, except for like the original UFC fights, which were fixed for the Gracie brothers anyway. Oops, did I say that? No. But anyway, it's the coffee. Buy me a coffee, guys. But no. So, whereas in combat sports, like I said, it's more symmetric because you're matched with people around your weight class, not too far from your age. Um, and it's one person versus one person. Um, and the skill level isn't too off kilter, okay, most of the time. But the I I'm gonna err if I'm gonna choose one or the other on the combat sports side, because the combat sports side has thousands, if not millions, of hours of footage showing what works and what doesn't work through tons of fighting with different opponents, different skill levels, different techniques, different different arenas, different venues, all of that. Whereas self-defense is more theoretical, because by its nature you can practice self-defense scenarios in the gym, but you're not actually acting out the actual self-defense thing, because obviously that would be a conflict, right? So being able to translate some of the stuff that works to combat sports to self-defense just makes sense. So when people say, well, I only do what works in the streets, how would you know? Have you tested that? So if you did test it, you're not a street fighter, you're someone who gets into trouble. If you haven't tested it, then you're guessing just like anyone else. Okay. Now, you can train with people who've been in altercations and who've been in, say, like law enforcement or trained as in military commandos who have relative experience. But the different variables to account for in self-defense are so many that there's no one person can train you for all those situations. You might be dealing with people who are much bigger than you, people, multiple opponents, people who have weapons, dealing with a shaky environment, all sorts of things. And it doesn't make sense to poo-poo what we know works for what might theoretically work based on some system, especially a system that hasn't been utilized realistically in like hundreds of years, or something that's been made up and it's become trendy like Krav Maga or Sistema or anything else. And sorry to you BJJ bros out there, but as effective as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, to make it like it's the ultimate martial art, and I've talked about this several times before, how? Like, their biggest selling point since the 90s was, well, over 90% of fights end up on the ground. Yeah, okay, but all of them start standing up. So are you supposed to just skip to the end and try to pull half guard and wait for someone to come into you? Like, I'm not doing that in Baltimore. I'm sorry. I don't know about you. I'm not doing it in Manila either. I'm not going to get on the ground, pull half guard. Yeah. And obviously I'm being facetious. I know they're not stupid enough to do that. Well, some of them are not stupid enough to do that. But it, it seems when people have strong beliefs about something, common sense sometimes goes out the window. Sort of like in my comments about certain things, dealing with skepticism. But anyway, so if you do train with a self-defense coach, such as myself, they can train you in some aspects of self-defense, but no one self-defense coach can train you in all aspects of it because there's so many different things to account for. Like I said, there's the fighting itself. There is staying fit, which I always say is half of self-defense. You simply can't defend yourself if you're out of shape. Then there's, tactical training with firearms and weapons and different scenarios, like dealing with like fighting people maybe in an alleyway or in a small cramped room, all sorts of stuff like that. And there's many other things, but if I'm going to choose one or the other, combat sports, combat athletes are trained killers. So, and I don't know why people don't realize that. Like, yes, they're practicing a sport, but what they're doing could delete someone if needs be. But the humble ones will say they don't know anything about self-defense. They just know, how to fight in a sports situation, which is fair. Because again, self-defense is more conceptual. That's not to say, again, that there aren't proven tactics that can work in a self-defense situation, just that it's more theoretical than actually just doing a combat sport where you can actually know what works and what doesn't work based on tons and tons and tons of evidence from previous fights and footage of those fights. So, guys, if you're, serious about learning how to defend yourselves, join a gym. It can be a MMA gym, Muay Thai gym, a boxing gym. You can go do wrestling. If you're a younger person, you got high school and college wrestling. Utilize that for free. Okay. It's so many aspects. If you are not scared of firearms, maybe get one and practice at a range. Okay. And some of those places do offer tactical firearm training. take use of that stuff, guys, if you're serious about self-defense. But don't leave it to some random instructor from Krav Maga or some other place telling you, yeah, we don't do this and we don't do that because we only train for the streets. If you hear that, you're dealing with someone who's talking bullshit. If you hear someone say, we don't spar because we only do stuff that's realistic, it's bullshit. If you can't practice it in a sparring, how would you ever know when and if it works? Okay? If you can't, if they are free to compete, then how are they ever pressure testing what works and what doesn't work? So if you're serious about self-defense, consider a combat sport: boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, okay, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which, as much as I poo-poo, is a really great martial art. But don't leave it to these guys walking around in cargo pouch khakis with the camos and the hiking boots with the little tactical pouch around their waist, talking about they train for the streets. They're full of shit. But I'm just a contrarian.